From KPRC Channel 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
It started. The 2020 presidential election is underway with a huge bang. Record turnouts have been happening in the Houston region and all over the state of Texas. That same enthusiasm is happening in other parts of the country as well. Record-breaking numbers have been seen in several states. Unprecedented is one word to use to describe what's happening. And of course, it's not just the presidential election in the spotlight, but so much more. But the reality is President Trump is a catalyst for what is a significant turnout for this year. What does the bigger turnout mean? At the top of the ticket and down ballot as well. Well, we need political science brains for that, and I just happen to have two of the very best joining me this morning for their insight into what's happening. Dr. Mark Jones is a Baker Institute Fellow in Political Science and Professor of Political Science at Rice University. Dr. Brandon Rottinghaus, Political Science Professor at the University of Houston, whose specialty is the presidency and Texas politics. Good morning to you both. Thank you for being a part of this discussion and providing the political science brains as part of it, because otherwise it wouldn't go very far. Appreciate that. Hey, without knowing what votes have been cast so far, no way to know that, what can you read into the tremendous turnout so far? Brandon, starting with you.
I think it shows that enthusiasm is high across the board. There's no doubt that Texas is going to be among the leaders. I mean, we've been on the bottom, in the basement in terms of turnout. So I think we're going to really rocket that up. And partly it's been a result of a real full-scale effort, especially in places like Harris County, to make sure it's easy to vote. So we're seeing this boost, and that's going to be a good thing for democracy, generally, regardless of who wins.
Dr. Jones?
I think it definitely indicates there's a lot of enthusiasm out there. People were chomping at the bit to go out and vote, and they're voting now. Thus far, the numbers we're seeing on who has voted, about 90% of these people voted back in 2016. So right now, it's mostly people who normally vote voting earlier. We'll have to see if it's going to increase turnout substantially or somewhat. I think it's going to increase turnout, but not at the rates that we're seeing if we compare first day of early voting now with first day of early voting back in 2016.
So let's talk about the polls a little bit. They've shown an advantage for Vice President Biden and continue to show what pollsters say is a sizable advantage, a real clear politics poll, which is an average taken basically of 10 different polls. You guys know that, but I'm telling this for the viewers. This past week has former Vice President with more than a 9-point advantage. But how much of this can be believed by this or any other poll when you think about what happened in 2016? Dr. Rottinghaus?
Well, it's complicated, yeah. You know, polling people is both art and science. I think your point about the polling averages is good. No one poll is going to tell us anything. It's a snapshot. So we have to think about what those averages look like. And I think it's also a problem that, you know, you may have some what we call partisan non-response bias. People are effectively hiding their opinions of Donald Trump because they think that it's unpopular to back a president who, you know, does and says the same kind of things that Donald Trump does. So that's definitely something pollsters watch. And that's something that, you know, in our polling, we've definitely been careful to try to screen out, but it's impossible to know considering that, you know, there's so many people and there's so many different issues, and 2020 has basically just created all kinds of new different dynamics.
Yeah, Mark, what kind of confidence do you have in these polls that we look at them and we see them on a day in and day out basis?
By and large, I have a great deal of confidence. I mean, we go back to 2016, the national polls really weren't off. The polls that were off were those in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, where there weren't many polls being conducted, and some of those weren't of the highest quality. This time around, nobody's being fooled. And so everybody is polling in those states as well as watching states across the country. And it's important to keep in mind that the national totals are important, but what really count are the state level totals. So right now, I think that we have pretty high confidence in the polls that suggest that Joe Biden is on track for a pretty substantial victory. The only caution I would add is if there is a serious undercount of Trump voters, if they aren't taking these polls, or when they do take the polls, they don't give their true response, that would be systematic across all of these states. And so what right now looks like a 4 or 3 point Joe Biden lead, which is going to lead to this relatively substantial victory in the Electoral College, could dissipate on election night if these sort of hidden Trump voters or shy Trump voters are actually out there. Most of the states suggest that's not the case, but I wouldn't count that out completely. And if we see a surprise on election night, it'll be because of that.
Well, you know, surprising on election night, that's something that we're kind of accustomed to after 2016. Okay, COVID-19 numbers, they continue to go up. Several states, we enter the fall season, millions of Americans are still without stimulus money, and up to this point, that money is still not coming. In the meantime, the president made it clear that his top priority is the Supreme Court. And with that, of course, the filling the seat of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Those confirmation hearings really little more than just perfunctory. But the challenge is that how much do you think people are even paying attention to this? That looks like Senator McConnell's going to fulfill the president's wish to have a full vote before Election Day. How much is this impacting the national thought process, if at all, as it regards a presidential election?
Well, I mean, I think it is affecting in the sense that it is reminding Republicans why they're Republicans and Democrats are why they're Democrats. And in an election cycle where the economy is going badly for Republicans and COVID-19 is going bad for Republicans, it's not a bad thing to have the court hearing. I think Democrats realize that, though, and that's why we didn't see as much in the way of fireworks. Democrats realized that Republicans had the numbers. They were going to essentially approve and confirm Amy Coney Barrett as the next Supreme Court justice. So while they got their shots in, they didn't make a public media spectacle so as not to distract public attention away from COVID-19 or the economy or President Trump's antics, all of which worked to their advantage.
Let's talk about, Brandon, let's talk about the Harris County for a minute. What do you make of the impacts, Dr. Rottinghaus, about how this presidential race will have on the down ballot here in Harris County and regionally?
It's going to have a big effect. In fact, we know from scholarship that says that when there are more cases and more deaths of COVID in counties, that it likely reduces the vote share for Donald Trump. So in big counties, especially big urban counties that are changing like Harris County, it's going to have a pretty tremendous effect. The down ballot races are really going to be where the action's at. I'm not sure that that Joe Biden will be able to win Texas, although it may be close and certainly will be closer than we saw in 2016. But it's those down ballot races where you're seeing the Republican brand really being upended. And for Donald Trump, at least, he's not really helping the cause of those Republicans. So they haven't been talking as much about it. They haven't been running ads connected to it. They've been running ads about how they're, trying to fund education and healthcare. So there's a lot of sort of distancing there that we see. And I think, at least for purposes of sort of moving the state blue, that the Democrats are in as good a position as we've seen for a number of years.
The governor's decision, Mark, to limit the drop-off ballot boxes in Harris County, he said it was a ballot security issue. Does anyone really believe that explanation, or do you analyze it as GOP infighting at the top, folks who are even more conservative? I've noticed that that's been happening, and that was his way to kind of prove to the other folk in the GOP that, yeah, he's just as strong. What do you make of that?
Well, it was a very clumsy attempt to try to throw a monkey wrench in Democratic efforts to get people to vote by mail, and then if they didn't want to put in the postal through the U.S. Postal Service, to drop it off. There is no problem of fraud with turning in mail-in ballots. In fact, if you turn in a mail-in ballot, if you turn in an absentee ballot, you actually have to show identification, something you don't have to do if you drop it in the mailbox. So actually turning ballots in is more secure and less likely to bring about fraud than is the case with mail-in. So I think it was just a clumsy effort by Governor Abbott to throw a monkey wrench in Democratic turnout efforts in Harris County, as well as to a lesser extent Travis County and Dallas County.
So we have a lot to talk about, and we always tend to run out of time. We're going to do another segment here, so stick around, you guys. We're going to talk about some congressional races that are pretty hot. Even looking at the commercials, they're pretty hot as well. So much more to come with Doctors Mark Jones and Brandon Rottinghaus, including the contentious race in the 22nd and the fight over the retiring Congressman Pete Olson's seat when Houston Newsmakers continues.